Hi everyone, this is Anistia. I wanted to do an addendum that was to really speak about the nit and gritty of Black wealth and some of the things and topics that are current discussions that we should continue to have discussions about and really bringing more attention within our conversation. So as you know, I had a radio interview today which we touched a little bit on some of those things. I wanted to get a little more into us discussing some of the things that I wanted to convey to the audience that definitely allows more time. So a great platform is my own platform. So with me being my own soapbox patron, this should be a little more detailed in regards to my response. So supporting local businesses and how it's shaping our community. As I was saying before, it's so important for us to support local Black businesses, local and nationally, and also globally. In that retrospect, being able to support Black businesses will give us an opportunity to build our economy. We're able to sustain a generation of wealth within our legacy as well. But one of the things that we have to start doing in regards to wanting to strengthen our communities, we have to really work on changing our mindset in how we view each other and how we do business with each other as a community. I think we have a whitewash method where we compete against each other because we think we are competitors because of the limited access to being successful and profit of what is in our minds, and then at the same time, if we encounter someone that does have a business or provides a service to us, we think that they're incompetent. So it's more of a no-win situation as far as the way that our mindsets are, and we have to look at the fact that just because we have had a one or several bad experiences with a Black business or a Black business service proprietor, that we don't stereotype all Black businesses as the same in regards to that. So I think the next step in that from there is being able to search, sponsor, and share. So we have to search out these businesses that provide services, products that we're seeking. We need to sponsor them by being able to patronize their business as well. And then we need to share. We need to share these resources and the good experiences that we have with the rest of our peers and our community and everyone else in regards to that. Not only do we not only try to get African Americans to invest in Black banks, get people of other races and nationalities to invest in Black banks. We invest in other banks that are diverse, that aren't race specific. Therefore, there shouldn't be a restriction as to other races, especially races of other colors and nationalities, to be able to support our banks as well as we should do theirs. So that's my answer in regards to how we could support Black businesses with that. The other thing was really talking about building capital for the Black community. So with that, I think a lot of that begins with policy. First, we have to really look at the policy that and regulations that deal with banking and finance regulations. Definitely also dealing with policy in the areas of procurement in regards to how we're doing business with each other as well and how we can expand. Definitely being able to track business procurement power. We do not have a statistic on that. We have a statistic at the $1.2 trillion buying power that African Americans have as far as a consumer standpoint, but not from a business procurement standpoint as to how much we spend. That is yet to be tracked. So that's something that's outstanding with that, and also any statistics that are important for us to really look at, research, study, and capitalize on as to the target and implementing a strategic plan and how to build wealth for the African American community. And as I said before, for every dollar that a white family spends, there is 5 cents that is belongs to or earned by a Black family. So there's a huge wealth gap in that. Particularly, we definitely have to make sure that our deposits in the bank are enough for them to reinvest back into our communities to be able to support us. So recycling that as well. The other thing that I really wanted to really throw out there to my community about Black wealth and our spending is paying attention to what other cultures are doing. China's the second largest economy in the world, and in 5 years they will be number one in film and entertainment. I say that in a lot of ways. Look at other cultures. Look at China. And one of the things that I'm really paying attention to is that for us to build Black wealth, we have to start looking past the surface. Oftentimes we tend to want something after it's already produced, to where it's already ready-made, something to where it looks beautiful, appears, opportunity. We typically want something when it's typically unattainable, when we see that someone else or another organization, another group of people have acquired it. When I look at Detroit, where we had so much control over a city that we decided to do nothing with, and then wanting people or organizations or corporations to give us something that we technically already had, you have to look at how they look at that. When we drive down the street and we see a dilapidated building and we're just like, oh, it's just a mess. Why wouldn't someone do something with that? Well, why couldn't you do something with that? Because the same person, whether it's a Dan Gilbert or anyone of that nature, that drives down the street and looks at that and they say, oh, I see opportunity. I see a beautiful block that I can make a development. I can get a few people together and we can do something. We have the same power. If you're spending $5,000 on a Chanel bag, you can get 10 lots of, underdeveloped property. Maybe get together with a group of your friends, adopt a block, buy up a block of underserved area that people aren't overlooking. I can tell you from an insurance standpoint that a lot of the groups of people that are investing are foreign investors in Detroit right now. And they're not looking at downtown. They're looking at all the areas that we're overlooking right now. I had a huge portfolio that came through to my company within the past week, and majority of the owners on that portfolio list were all foreign investors who reside in China. And they're in the areas that we're not actually talking about and discussing right now as to where they're investing. They're buying them up in groups. They're getting their groups of friends and business people together and making things happen. And we can do that. We have the ability to do the same thing. We're just not working together with it. And that's my call to you, is get together with people. Get together and strategize your economic plan amongst your group. Develop an investment club. Develop your own wealth management team. Do financial networking events. Do financial networking parties. Hey, do a financial book club. Do things that may be an economic social conversation conference call that you guys do. I also look at the fact of how we deal with things with social media. When we're looking at social media, what are we following? What are we liking? Are we liking things that will help advance our growth as to being business owners and entrepreneurs? I posted something yesterday that was very important, very valuable information that dealt with STEAM. And the actual value of this currency, this digital currency, the price on it went up 2,000%. I probably got like 3 or 4 likes on it. But if I put a selfie of myself, I probably get a few hundred likes or things like that. And those are the kinds of things that I'm speaking about, is the fact that we can let social media distract us and other ways to keep us from paying attention to what's really going on in the world and what's important. And what we really should be paying attention to and liking and reading, taking the time to read that. I felt like I posted something that was so valuable that was a great investment decision if you wanted to make a quick investment into something as far as cryptocurrency. Thinking beyond that, but that was not, it was definitely not really noticed, or is it because we're not very well versed in knowing how to really discuss something of that nature, so therefore we don't really get engaged with that. But we should have the courage to just go ahead and just dive into that. So that was the other thing that I wanted to share. And the other thing that I wanted to share is just more about how we're fighting justice through our economy and how we can do that. I want to touch a little bit about the Black Lives Matter movement, because I feel that I participated in the rally, and I definitely dealt with the march. Very powerful, very peaceful. It was nothing as of statistics that are typically said about Black Lives Matter and things of that nature. And I think a lot of that, first I need to say this to people who really don't understand the movement and what it really entails. But Black Lives Matter is not about us saying that Black lives are the only lives that matter. We get those hashtags, all lives matter and things of that nature. But it doesn't say that we're more important than others. That's not what we're saying. But what it does is Black Lives Matter is about us shedding light on the dehumanization of our race and the fact that we continue to deal with this. And it's happening through systematic oppression at the end of the day. And we're just basically just letting you know what, our lives matter. We are humans just like you. We are tired of being dehumanized. We are tired of being oppressed. We are tired of the remix of being used in that perspective to continue the same thing, but just presented in the same, on a silver platter, basically. And so that is one of the things that I wanted to say about Black Lives Matter. And I also want to say this about Black Lives Matter. I think it makes people very uncomfortable because it sheds light on their sin, the things that they've done wrong. And they don't want to recognize it. They don't want to face it. There's also the thing of, I think, where the media and corporations are very annoyed with Black Lives Matter, because Black Lives Matter movements create an awareness. And it's shaking up so much to where it's making us pay attention more. And what does that do? When we pay attention more, then what are we doing? We're trying to pull our dollars out of certain things. If you've got a $1.2 trillion spending power, it's not being spent with Black businesses, it's being spent with corporations. So a corporation is definitely not too happy with the Black Lives Matter movement, because then they lose money. So they become uncomfortable, because then we're interrupting their businesses. We're interrupting their operations. We're interrupting them being able to generate income in that. So that's why Black Lives Matter is being so attacked, is because that is a threat, because BLM represents a serious mental movement that is really a mental power of being able to try to alter the brainwashing that we've been so accustomed to really thinking, as to really recognizing our true power as a people. I really wanted to make sure I talked about that, because that's really why people are so mad. So you have to see through the media, the comments, all those things that are distracting to try to make us think a little different, to make us second guess that. No, Black Lives Matter is pretty much on point, and we need to ride that wave. I want to make sure that we don't lose this. We have to keep this momentum going. We can't look at this as a hashtag/fad, that it's just a moment or a phase that we're just dealing with. This is something that we have to really deal with for really the rest of our lives, and we have to make sure that we're incorporating this in the way that we do business, incorporate the way that we deal with each other for our relationships, our faith, our communities, our emotional wellness as well as a people. Some of the things I wanted to talk about is how could impact future. We really have to look at dealing with other things that deal. We got to change our money mindset. That's just that. How we're dealing with the future. With money mindset, we have to look at becoming distributors, suppliers, importers of our own. We have a tendency to resell a product where the true wealth is really being a supplier, distributor, manufacturer of our own goods. That's where our power lies, and we're not becoming CEOs of things of that nature and creating that, and we need to start doing that. I looked at 9 of the billionaires that exist in the world. These 9 that I'm speaking of come from Africa. I have looked at the common denominator that they all had. They all were suppliers or a distributor. They were in oil, they were in telecommunications, one woman was a billionaire off of sugar, another person was a billionaire off of cotton and flour. Things that we use every single day. Look at the things that are just very common in our world and life that we can get into. Looking into things that are poisoning us, things that are making us unwell. As a people, we can get into those products and create our own product that help shift an alternative that's a healthier lifestyle that we're producing and shifting up to our people and communities to make sure that we're not poisoning our communities. That's just a thought that I wanted to throw out there. We also need to look beyond home ownership as a sign of wealth, because just because you live in a home or you own a home, that's a liability. If you're paying a 30-year mortgage, you don't own that home until the 30 years are out. So if you're living in the house, how are you profiting unless it's increasing in value? But even at that, it's still determined by the market. So that's never very stable in our mindset. So we have to look at other ways of investment, real estate investment properties. We have to look at when we have a business, do we own the actual real estate that we're working inside of? And if not, then let's look for properties where we are able to buy it and then we operate our business in there. Things that are all inclusive as to that. Negotiating leases to where you're able to put yourself in a position to purchase the property long term. Maybe the funds that you're spending each month can go towards the down payment to purchase or acquire that building. Something that is more of a financial plan that is more long-standing with that. I think the other thing is that we need more engineers. We gotta look at techies, developers, all of these positions that are the future that they're looking to acquire. We have to get our kids in coding. I'm a firm believer in alternative education when it comes to people getting caught up in the system and are not able to have a standard traditional learning ability, a sense of a facility or institution that we're so accustomed to doing. The internet's free. So, I think the internet is the most educational tool that we've got. And so with that being said, there's creative ways of being able to train youth that are being left behind in the traditional school system. And it's also a tool for skill development that we can learn on our own as well. Even if we have someone facilitating that, how we do that. I think the last thing I wanted to kind of really talk a little more about is how can our advocacy uplift our local community. I I think the main thing that we should ask ourselves as business owners is that we have to ask ourselves if what we're doing reinforces the Black Lives Matter message. Does my business exemplify what it means to really show that Black lives really matters to me as a CEO, as an employer, as a community supporter, when I invest or when I do things within the community? I think that we need to really work on cleaning up the pipeline between school dropouts and massive incarceration. And again, all of this all formulates to policy. One of the things we've got to do is stop electing officials that do not know how to write policy. We have to start making sure that the people that we elect know how to write policy and that are going to write policy. Look at what bills they're introducing and what they've actually put together. If not, then those aren't the people we need to have there, because that policy is what's going to regulate everything else that we're trying to do. A lot of things that we're trying to do lies in the power of policy. So we're not making sure that we're electing people who know the right policy that is in favor of us. Definitely not having Black politicians in government, which we need to start having more people that look like us in government on a local, not just a local, because we have a lot more on the local level, but local, state, federal plane. Those are some of the things that can help suppress that. We've got to get them as being attorneys. We've got to get them in being judges. We've got to get them in being government officials. We've got to get more police officers that are of color as well, involved in our communities and enforcing community policing as opposed to predatory policing. There is a huge difference with that. So one of the things that I wanted to just really talk about lastly and closing in on is, again, reinforcing why we need to support Black businesses. But I want to leave this with you. We have to hold accountability. We have to hold accountability as a people. We cannot continue to blame everyone else for all the things that we are experiencing, because a lot of things are self-inflicted that we have on ourselves. And I say that in the perspective, but I'm going to say two things. The first is massive incarceration. I want you to really think about that. We talk about how our Black men are incarcerated, our people of color overall incarcerated wrongfully, and it's privatized by corporations that are funding the prisons. Well, that's why Black Lives Matter is an issue, because it's trying to take the money that we spent, the $1.2, $1.3 trillion spending power that we're spending is not with Black businesses, it's with corporations. So we as a people, the money that we're getting from our income, we're spending it right back into the businesses and corporations that fund the jails. So guess what? We're actually putting our own people, we're helping to keep them there. We're helping to put our men in jail. That's why I'm saying this to you as to why Black businesses are so important for us to invest in. Because we are a part of the problem. We are a part of the oppression that is occurring. And we've got to wake up and realize the damage that we're doing to our people. And being able to be aware of that and realize we've got to stop it. We've got to pull all our money out. We've got to put our money where it's going to get back into our communities, that's going to help our men, that's going to give and create programs that are recirculated back into our environment to help them get second chances, being able for them to sustain a life in order for us to also create legacies as well. Um, and the other thing is, again, I said land development. Look at things that are off the radar. Look at things that no one else is looking at. Because honestly, there are people looking at those things that we overlook. It's in your face. You can definitely have wealth and accumulate things, and it's attainable. Again, you can take a small piece of your funding and put it into something. Every little bit builds. Start with something. I can't stress to you enough just how important these chambers are. I know a lot of people think, what's the purpose of the chamber? Why does it have to be black? Those kind of things. These are the very reasons of what's going on right now. And until we really understand that we have to start making some serious mindset and life changes, we're just blowing hot air there. So this was not a instructional video, but this is really me sharing with you some things from my heart as to really a conversation. If you and I were sitting across from the table and we just had a conversation, and me really talking about some of the things that I think are eye-openers for us to really work on. So I hope that you find something out of this video that you felt is, okay, this is something worth taking away with. And I plan to have more conversations with people about that. So until next time, if anyone wants to contact me, you can send an email to apmediainquiries@gmail.com. If you'd like to have come and speak to a group or be involved, that would be awesome. Or if you'd like to connect in any capacity. Thank you.